Eskom's inability to keep the lights on dealt a major setback to the mining industry. Now, last year's load shedding forced some mining companies to temporarily shut down operations. Now, to avert a repeat of such a crisis, mining companies want government to allow them to build their own power plants. For more on this, I'm joined by Henk Langenhoven. He is the chief economist from the Minerals Council South Africa. Mr. Langenhoven, thank you very much for your time. Yes. How are talks proceeding for you to eventually be able to build your own power stations?
Initially, the companies went one by one to the Minister of Energy, but now there's a group effort, and it really is the result of the unreliability that we experienced. And I saw you were talking about the price. That's something different, but it became very difficult to maintain. You must remember, our smelters are running 24 hours a day. We use huge amounts of power. We are often the first point of call for Eskom to ask us to curtail or to switch off. So the mining sector, because it's such a big user and you can locate it in a specific area or like at the aluminium smelters, it's the easiest way and the quickest to get rid of a big amount of power. And with Eskom now announcing that they would probably need 2 years, if all goes well, of load shedding, it became actually quite urgent for us to try and secure some of our own supply.
How many megawatts would you say a company needs to ensure consistent power supply?
That is difficult to say. Of course, it would be different for each company. If you're just a mine, then you need a certain amount. But if you have a mine and a smelter, you need a quantum more. Some of these smelters consume 200 megawatts on their own. So it's a big issue, and we often say that to Eskom, we are baseload users, and we actually pay our accounts. So please handle us with soft gloves.
I was reading an article at the weekend suggesting that if a company is going to build its own power supply that will exceed 10,000 megawatts, then that needs approval from the Minister of Minerals and Energy, Gwede Mantashe. Is he receptive to that idea? Because it's quite a desperate situation from your side.
It is, and if we can't use our capacity, then eventually you know what happens when machines are standing empty. You sell them, and you may lose jobs. We've been talking to him, and it is becoming quite clear that this is a crisis. And in the IRP, which is his document, it was said that we have these gaps. So
why is it a crisis?
Well, we can't produce at capacity. Let's use the agricultural sector. They process food. Can you imagine what happens to Woolworth's cold chain if from the farm you don't know whether you can actually keep those cool, the food cold? And it's a similar thing for us. And it's not only a specific point. If you look at the application by Eskom now for the regulatory clearing account, there are numbers for load shedding. But it's very difficult to actually link it to what the companies are doing. Amplats have announced that over 700 million they have lost last year. I think a better way to explain it to you is if you plot the variation in power supply available from Eskom on the variation of production in mining, you get virtually the same line. So it's not only that we're linked by the hip, we actually have the same heartbeat.
Yeah. I want to ask this of you, and I'm hoping you'll give me a straightforward yes or no answer. Is Minister Gwede Mantashe on board with giving you, mining companies, or the companies that you represent as the Minerals Council, the permission to build power stations that will exceed 10,000 megawatts because it's out of necessity?
Yes. The answer is yes. There's a lot of administrative cross purposes. You remember, we have to get a permission from him, then we have to go to NERSA to get clearances, then we have to do the EIAs and the land use licenses, and and then we have to actually start doing it. So, and often the one says, well, you have to get the permission from the other one. We have to get that process fast-tracked in, if possible, one place where the bottlenecks can be ironed out.
How soon do companies, mining companies specifically, want to start building these stations?
Some of them are ready. It'll take time. It'll not be in 6 months' time, but hopefully in a year, some of these power plants will come on stream. You must remember, after you've gone through what I just told you, it starts. And it takes as long as you can put in a solar farm or whatever to do that. But if I said, and it's a very important proviso, if everything goes well, it'll take Eskom 2 years to more to actually fix the bulk of the problems.
All right. Thank you very much for your time, Henk Langenhoven. He is the Chief Economist at the Minerals Council of South Africa.